Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone. Happy Halloween. So, really cool video today. You know, I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth again on how to do this particular book. I was gonna do a little library of horrors. Then I was going to do just a regular book slash vlog. And then I was like, no. It deserves its own dedicated Halloween video. Today we're going to talk about The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. Now, I've been watching and loving, by the way, all of the Halloween movie recommendations that have been coming out as of late due to our favorite holiday of the year fast approaching. And I've noticed The Halloween Tree is on a few of them, actually. And with good right, because that movie scared the living bejesus out of me as a child. And I remember when I was old enough to figure out that most things you see on TV come from books, picking this up and reading it. And it is wonderful. It's an awesome story. I loved it then, and I have a new appreciation for it now, having reread it recently. What I don't think that I got on my first read, but I was a kid, is just the sheer beauty of the way that the author, Ray Bradbury, writes. Of course, I've since read things like Fahrenheit 451 and things like that, so I'm familiar with Ray Bradbury's writing style, but this is always my favorite. You know, maybe that's a controversial opinion, but this is my favorite of the Ray Bradbury books. So if you're not familiar with The Halloween Tree, it is, of course, taking place on Halloween, and it involves a number of children. I believe the movie cuts down the number of children, actually, to 4. But in the book, I want to say there's maybe 6 to 8. And it's essentially these children hopping through time. So one of our main characters is Pipkin, or Pip. He is the boy that is sort of the center of our little friend group. And he is missing on their Halloween adventure this year, so they go off looking for him. And essentially, they see what you would amount to as his ghost, I guess, and this ghost leads them to this magnificent haunted house, probably the essential haunted house that I think of ever since I've read this book about what a haunted house should be. It's probably the guidepost that I use, quite honestly. And in that haunted house, they meet a very interesting fellow, and his name, Carapace Clavicle Moundshroud. I wanted to read it to make sure I got it completely correct, because how amazing is that name, right? And he's an odd character. You know, he is alluded to as being a lot of different things. Everything from, I guess, like an eccentric old man, at least in my mind, to the devil himself. And, you know, it's sort of left up to you to see what you think he is. You know, is he just a magical person, or is he something a little bit more sinister? But he has the Halloween tree, and it is essentially a very, very, very large tree full of pumpkins. And I believe both the book and the movie give you the sense that these pumpkins are souls. And, you know, Pipkin, he wants to steal his soul back, and he kind of takes off into time. And all of the boys have, of course, different outfits on. I believe the ones that the movie shows are things like the gargoyle, the mummy, the witch, yeah. And after Pipkin sort of leaves the friend group this night, the de facto leader is Tom Skeleton. He's the skeleton. Har har. And yeah, so they meet up with Moundshroud, and Moundshroud essentially tells them that they need to catch Pipkin, you know, in order to save him and get that pumpkin back. And they go on this, I mean, just talk about a fantastic voyage. My book, actually, I wanted to show you guys. It has some really awesome illustrations, and you know, I always like to show you the illustrations. But yeah, just some wonderful, almost like pen and ink kind of. Oh, and on each chapter there's some wonderful masks. Yeah, it's awesome. So they kind of take off through time, and there's just so many scenes, so many scenes that are just breathtakingly beautiful in how they're written. But overall, the story is each point that they stop on teaches the boys a little bit more about their costume. And you guys know that I love world building, and you want to talk about a world. They're not only jumping around places, they're jumping around time. I mean, they go from ancient Egypt, learning about mummies, all the way to Mexico during Dios los Muertos, Day of the Dead, just trying to see what Halloween is truly about. One scene that I do remember that was in the movie as well is they go to Notre Dame to learn about the gargoyles. And at each point they see Pipkin, but he's always in like a different state. For example, when they're in Egypt, he's a mummy. When they go to Notre Dame, he is one of the gargoyles. And it's very eerie because, like when he's a gargoyle at Notre Dame, he is speaking to them, but it's like wind howling out of his mouth or water. So it's very, very spooky in that regard. So many beautiful scenes, like one that really jumps out to me, and one of the illustrations that I wanted to show you was when they go back in time to learn about witchcraft and, how witches were treated and the history behind that. They actually meet the god Samhain. And there's a scene where, all of these insects and worms are sort of like spilling out of him or around him. And yeah, you see like spiders and scorpions and things like that. It's sort of like that scene in Indiana Jones where she puts her hand, it's Temple of Doom, where she puts her hand in and she has to save them, but there's insects all in the lever that she has to hit in order to save them out of that room. That's what it put me in mind of this time when I read it. So yeah, I cannot convey to you the beauty that is this book. I know it can sound like, oh, you learn about history, it's kind of boring. It's not. It's so not. It's like an adventure. And it doesn't matter how old you are, I think you are enjoying the adventure, and you're rooting for these guys. It has a Stand By Me kind of feel to it with the boys and, their dedication to finding their friend. It really does. It has kind of like a Stand By Me sort of undertone lining the whole thing. But it's so poetic and so beautiful. If you are in any way, shape, or form a fan of fall or like the nostalgia that surrounds Halloween, pick this up. Read it. Oh my gosh. And watch the movie. The movie's super creepy too. So here is the house I was telling you about with the Halloween tree beside it. And I wanted to sort of wrap this video up with I guess you would call it the poem that the boys hear kind of being whistled out of the jack-o'-lanterns. It's big, it's broad, it's bright. It fills the sky on All Hallows Night. The strangest sight you've ever seen, the monster tree on Halloween. The leaves have burnt golden red, the grass is brown, the old year dead. But hang the harvest high, oh see, the candle constellations on the Halloween tree. The stars they turn, the candles burn, and the mouse leaves scurry on the cold wind borne. And a mob of smiles shine down on thee from the gourds hung high on the Halloween tree. The smile of the witch, the smile of the cat, the smile of the beast, the smile of the bat, the smile of the reaper taking his fee, all cut and glimmer on the Halloween tree. Beautiful, right? So, yeah. Highly recommend Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, especially this time of year. It's a perfect read, and it's thin. It's not very thick. You can get through it in no time. And it's more of a kind of a feel-good book. It's something you can probably enjoy with your family, even. If you have, maybe not little kids, but older children. They might enjoy maybe like a family read for this, but definitely if you're into horror, you can't go wrong with this time of year. So, guys, thanks for coming. I know this is kind of a short book review, but I wanted to get it out there, in case you didn't know about the Halloween tree somehow. Yeah, thanks for coming to the Panic Room, guys. Please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. and happy Halloween. Bye for now.